As missiles are flying over the skies of Middle East, a country is reaping benefit. And no, it is not United States or Israel, it is Russia. So how did a war in Middle East become an economic or financial lifeline for Vladimir Putin of Russia? Let us try to understand and decode in this particular video. Now, first of all, to give you the background of this entire topic, we know that since past week about Iran and United States have continuously been engaged in a conflict along with Israel, and as a retaliatory measure, Iran also has attacked many of the Gulf allies of the United States of America. Because of this, a massive disruption in the global oil supply and gas is being observed, and its impact is being seen on the entire market as well. It is due to this reason the global price of the crude, which was trading about 58-59 per barrel before war, it has now climbed up steeply to over $100 per barrels. Russia's energy revenue, which was very meager in the beginning of this year, seems to be now shoring up in the sky. 2026 geopolitical shift that we are seeing in Middle East has actually been a boon for the Russian President Vladimir Putin, who has been struggling for past couple of years in ensuring that he is able to continue his war against Ukraine. Now, as far as the US energy strategy is concerned, what it wanted to achieve in the early days in the Trump's presidency, it seems that they have completely reversed their stand. For example, you know that President Trump came into office, he targeted Russia's energy trade. He also claimed that it was due to the energy flow, energy revenue that Russia was able to generate. It is pumping and fueling its war machinery against Ukraine from past 4 years as such. So the goal of the United States government and the European allies was to weaken war financing. And how did they want to do it? By cutting the revenue, by cutting the supply to the major consumers which were dependent on the Russian oil and gas. These were India and China. We have seen tariffs were imposed on India of additional 25% due to its import of Russian oil. Later on, as per the recent trade agreement, it was said by United States government that India has decided to cut off its oil supply from Russia, and that's why they are removing the traffic as such, removing the tariff as such. So overall, to some extent, we can understand that the pressure was very high on the US government as well as other countries across to cut the oil supply from Russia. And sanctions were also imposed on several Russian oil firms such as Lukoil. Now, this strategy seems to have been completely disrupted by the decision of the United States government to wage war against Iran. And the reason behind this is because of the complete instability we are seeing in the Middle East, where Iran did not only target this time Israel or US assets, it targeted almost all the Gulf allies, which host more than 65% of global oil and gas reserve. Energy supply has completely been disrupted. A large scale market volatility is being seen as far as the oil and gas is concerned, and thus the demand for Russian oil as an alternative source is continuously rising among the Asian consumer, because we know that majority of the oil and gas that flows to Asia comes through the vital Strait of Hormuz, which is in the throes of war, where continuously Iran has been attacking ships sailing from different countries. Now, due to these changes development, US also has shifted its policy. In the recent press briefing, US secretary, we can call as Scott Bessent, he has said that it has issued 30-day waiver allowing India to buy Russian oil as such. And Russian oil tankers, they were stranded in the sea because as the supply has been disrupted, as the consumers have begun to divert toward the Middle East, now it seems that again they have been dependent on Russian oil as Middle East supply disrupted. The goal is to stabilize supply. That's why US has defended its decision to shift its policy, and there is a future possibility. Many experts argue that many sanctions that were imposed on Russia, especially in the energy sector related to Ukraine war, could see possible easing if situation does not improve in coming days in the Middle East. Now, if we try to understand that how it is beneficial and how it is a boon, a lifeline for Russia, it is because in the beginning of this year, they have budgeted a benchmark of $59 per barrel. And this was a very small sum of revenue that Russia would be able to generate on a fiscal year. And that's why it was said by many of the experts that Vladimir Putin is facing a tough choice, whether to continue with a war which is grinding upon the resources, human resources, financial resources, or whether to limit the operation that he has launched against Ukraine. The Western sanctions also were biting heavily in the Russian economy. High interest rates were making difficult for the consumers in Russia to carry out with their daily life. activities. Labor shortages were being continuously observed in Russian economy because most of the young people were sent to fight a war, and energy revenue in the same time continuously was seeing a decline, because we know that Russian oil was sanctioned. Before that also there was a this price cap limit on it. Now, due to the bombing of Iranian oil facilities and due to the bombing of Iran, bombing by Iran against several Gulf countries, especially targeting the oil and gas refineries, also targeting the Strait of Hormuz. We have seen the regional war has escalated far beyond anyone could have imagined, especially US and Israel did not think that war could have such high repercussions, huge repercussions. Oil price has spiked beyond $100 per barrel, and even Iranian authorities are saying that their goal is to make this war expensive for both US and Israel, and they are targeting that they will keep on carrying out attack against the ships unless and until oil touches $200 per barrel, and then the economic pain will be felt not only by few countries but almost all across the world as such. This oil price, we have to understand that why this number is significant, because for the first time since 2022, while oil has reached this particular price, this was the price oil recorded when Russia attacked Ukraine in year 2022, since it has continuously ease. The impact is largely because of the targeting by Iran of the vital Strait of Hormuz. It is just few kilometers of stretch that is located between Iran on the north and then you have the Arabian Peninsula in the south. If you look at the major oil and gas producers such as Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, then you have UAE, then you have Oman, all of these countries are strongly dependent, highly dependent on this small, narrow, vital stretch to export their oil and gas, more specifically gas, because the gas producing countries such as Qatar, Bahrain, 80% of their export is through Strait of Hormuz itself. And this is why it is referred as a major global oil choke point. Now, the shipping has been disrupted. We are seeing almost every day Iranian Navy, Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps are continuously carrying out attack against the ships. Only exception they have made is for the Chinese ships and any other ship. Recently, we have news of Thai ship that was bringing oil to Gujarat refinery. It was also attacked by Iran as such. So this has created a large scale supply uncertainty, and energy market is currently going through a shock that it has not recorded in past couple of decades as such. It is in this context economic boost for Russia is being observed, because if Russian oil, its price will increase, because earlier Russian oil was being sold at a very cheap prices compared to the other crude oil. Now it is being sold at a premium rate. So that would definitely lead to the rising of revenues for Russia, which again can be used for the war against Ukraine as such. Demand has increased, possible premium pricing is there. Plus, because India and China both are the largest, one of the largest, we can say, consumer of oil, and now they can easily buy it from Russia. So obviously it is going to be a win for Putin. As far as the diplomatic development in this entire regard is concerned, it is also believed Trump Putin held an hour-long call, and during this Middle East war was discussed. Putin has put a lot of diplomatic proposals to both US and Russia, Iran also, how to solve this issue, how to resolve this dispute in a diplomatic way. Talks are ongoing with Gulf leaders as well, and it is in this context energy leverage that Russia enjoys, as it is the source of one of the largest oil and gas production in the world. It is continuously growing. Not only that, Putin also has questioned Europe's energy strategy. He even has said that if European countries want to buy oil and gas from Russia, they would allow it. They would allow it to be exported to these countries, and this is crucial in terms or in amidst of the global oil volatility as such. Kremlin is trying to project its image now as a reliable global crude oil and gas supplier. This message is trying to send all across the world as such, and this was clearly reflected in the press briefing held by Dmitry Peskov, who is the spokesperson of the Kremlin, that is the Russian president, we can say. So it is in this context, many experts argue that Russia is now been given a financial lifeline due to the Middle East disruption, especially the global oil supply shock. That's all for this particular video. If you like the video, please hit the like button, share with friends, as well as subscribe channel for more such content. Thank you very much.